The next time management concept is to apply the as-if principle to time management. The as-if principle is one of the oldest and most powerful personal development strategies that exists today. And the principle is to imagine a more successful future you. For the purpose of this audio program, imagine yourself 5 years from today, a time management master, a time management expert. Think about the actions that you have taken that have dramatically improved your time management skills. The concept is to act as if you are that person now. For example, if in the future, when you are a time management expert and you are a time management master, would you plan your day? Absolutely. Begin to plan every day now. In the future, would you study time management books? Absolutely. Begin to do that now. Take the actions now of the person that you want to become. To become a time management master, you must become more than who you are now. The next time management tip is to have time management goals. Goal setting is applicable to time management. Goal setting is the most powerful personal development strategy that exists today. I have accomplished virtually every time management goal that I've ever set. The reason why most people don't achieve their time management goals is because they never thought of the idea of setting time management goals. Here are some examples of time management goals that you can set. Plan every day this month on paper before the day starts. Read Eat That Frog in the next 30 days. Listen to this audio program 7 times. Find 7 ways to use leverage in my business. Take action. Set 3 time management goals right now. Write them down. Develop the habit of setting time management goals. The next time management idea is to delegate. Delegating is to simply have somebody do something other than yourself. A belief that stands in the way of effective delegation is this: I'm the only one that can do it right. Ask yourself this question. Do you say to yourself, I shouldn't have had that other person do it. I am the only person that can do it right. If that's your belief, you will never become effective at delegating. Because is it possible when you delegate something to someone else that they're not going to do it the way you want it to? You go, Eric, is it possible? It happens all of the time. Well, let me ask you this question. How effectively have you communicated what it is that you want them to do? So many times, the reason they haven't done it properly is because you didn't clearly communicate what it is that you want it done. In addition to that, let's say you didn't delegate it. Let's say you did it yourself. Isn't it possible that you too could have messed it up or made the mistake? Yeah, we all make mistakes all the time. So you might have made the same mistake they did, number 1. Number 2, you'll never become a master of time management until you learn how to effectively delegate. So don't say the belief, I'm the only one that can do it right. Or don't say, if I don't do it, it won't get done right. Let go of doing it all yourself. Begin now to look for things that you can delegate to others. The next time management idea is prioritize. Some activities are more important than others. Some activities pay more than others. Some activities produce better results than others. After you create a written plan, prioritize the action items. Remember, you can't prioritize unless you have a written plan. The next idea is time management systems. And this quite possibly could be the most powerful idea for you. You see, anybody could plan a day once, or anybody could plan a day for a few weeks. But the people that produce profound results when it comes to time management have systems for how they're able to accomplish it. And so I developed a step-by-step system for planning my day. And I now want to share that strategy with you. In planning hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of days, what I found was I would sit down on my desk, I would open up my day planner, and I would begin to ask myself questions. What do I have to do today? Who do I have to follow up with today? What appointments do I have today? And I would ask myself these questions. And I would just randomly ask the questions. And as I asked the question, my brain would produce an answer, and I'd write the answer down. And then before you know it, I had my plan created. And I'm in sales. Sometimes I would forget to ask the question, who do I need to follow up with today? Or I'd forget to ask, how many calls am I going to make today? Or I'd forget to ask, what new prospects will I call today? And your brain will answer whatever question you ask it. So if you forget to ask those questions, there's no way of producing those answers. So on those days, I wouldn't have those action items in my plan. And obviously they wouldn't get done based on the principle that what doesn't get scheduled doesn't get done. So I discovered this to create a list of questions for me to ask myself that were customized to my plan. So when I sat down and planned my day, I would simply ask and answer the questions in writing. And the questions were designed to create the most powerful day possible for me. And I'm now going to share with you what those questions are. Now, as I'm sharing these questions, the purpose of it is not necessarily for you to copy my questions, because these questions are customized to my life. The purpose of me sharing these questions with you is to get you to think about what are the questions that you would ask yourself on a daily basis. My first question, what must I accomplish today? Question 2, who do I need to follow up with? Question 3, what is the one project I will focus on until I complete it? Question 4, what will I do today to make progress on this project? Question 5, what new prospects will I call? Question 6, are there any activities I need block time for? Question 7, how will I improve my health today? Question 8, what will I do spiritually today? Question 9, what can I do to get my team to peak perform today? Question 10, what will I do for my wife today? Question 11, what will I do for my son today? Question 12, what can I delegate to my assistant to grow my business? Question 13, what can I delegate to my staff to grow my business? Question 14, what are my 2 most important outcomes today? Question 15, what will I do to improve my website today? Question 16, what will I do for myself today? And that list of questions has evolved. The more times that I've sat down and planned, different questions will pop into my head. So here's my suggestion to you. You develop a list of questions that you ask yourself. So when you sit down and plan, planning becomes simple. You just simply ask the questions that you predetermine to have an ideal day, and then you write down the answers. And step number 2 of the system is to spend 1% of your day planning each day. Ask yourself the time management questions, answer your questions in writing. Now, do you remember how many minutes there are in a day? There's 1,440 minutes in any given day. So I would like you to spend 1% of your day, or 14 minutes, planning. And when I say planning, what I mean is, if you start your planning at 5:59 at night, you go until 6:13. So it's 14 minutes of concentrated, blocked time. You're not answering the phone. You're not answering email. No one's in your office. You're sitting down by yourself, concentrated block of time, asking and answering these questions in writing. And then step 3 is to identify your 2 most important outcomes for the day. In other words, apply the 80-20 rule, the Pareto principle, to your list. In doing this, you will consistently develop a powerful plan each day. Add in some of the other techniques that we talked about: delegation, leverage, technology, but use this basic system to get you started. So now for you to get the most out of this exercise, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to develop your own list of questions. So grab your journal, and this is something you'll improve on and evolve on each time that you listen to this audio program. So grab your journal, and I'd like you to think about, if you were going to plan the ultimate day, what questions would you ask yourself? So whatever pops into your head, go ahead and jot that down and see if you can come up with 10 questions to ask yourself to plan the ultimate day. If you're like me and you have appointments during the day, what appointments do I have scheduled today? That should be one of your questions. If you have a family, you might have questions around your family. My questions were, what will I do for my wife today? What will I do for my son today? You might notice that in my plan, it wasn't just business. I had a question around spirituality, and I had a question around my health, as well as my family. I'd like you to continue writing questions down. These are questions for you to create your ultimate day. And remember, you can always change the questions. Each time that you listen to this portion of the audio program, new questions will pop up for you. Capture them in your journal so you permanently have them. I really like the question, what must I accomplish today? Are there any activities that you need blocked time for? Here's another one. What can I do today to make progress on my goals and dreams? So make that list of questions and see if you can come up with at least 10 questions. And then once you've created it, I would encourage you to put it in your computer. I keep mine in a Microsoft Word file. It's called Time Management Master Plan. It has all my questions. And oftentimes I'll go right into my computer and I'll plan it in my computer. So now that you have the list of time management questions, now we're going to plan a day. You can come back to this section of the tape or CD at any time, and I will coach you on how to plan your day. So take out a clean sheet of paper, or if you're planning it on your computer, get out your computer, or if you're planning it in your day planner, go ahead and grab your day planner. Now, the day that we're going to plan a day as if you're going to have a level 10 day tomorrow. I'm assuming that you're planning it the night before or the day before. So put yourself in that frame of mind of, okay, I'm going to have a level 10 day. I'm going to have an amazing, outstanding, productive day. In fact, today is going to be the most productive day of my entire life. So now that you're in that proper state of mind, what must you accomplish tomorrow? Whatever pops in your head, jot it down in your notes. What must you accomplish? What will you do to improve your health tomorrow? If I'm going too fast, just pause the tape or CD. What appointments do you have tomorrow? What level are you going to play at tomorrow? At the end of the day, how will you know if you played at that level? What else do you need to accomplish tomorrow? What will you do for your family tomorrow? What have you been procrastinating on that you'll take action on tomorrow? What will you do for yourself tomorrow? What will you do spiritually tomorrow? What time will you go to bed tonight? What time will you wake up tomorrow? Are you going to get back on that diet tomorrow? Are you going to start up that exercise program again? How many meals will you have tomorrow, and where will you have those meals? What phone calls do you need to make tomorrow? If you're a student, what classes do you have tomorrow? What homework must you complete for tomorrow? In addition to the questions that I've asked you, look at your list of questions for your customized list and ask yourself those questions. Put all of that down on paper so you got this one giant list. Okay, now what I want you to do, now that you have your list, and if you don't have your list yet, pause the tape or CD, because I need you to have your list in front of you. It's very, very important that you have that. Okay, now that you have your list in front of you, I want you to take a look at your list, and I want you to go back and look over each item and ask yourself this question: do I really need to do this tomorrow? Chances are 10 to 30% of your list will fall right off because they're really not that important. They don't need to be done tomorrow. So go back and cross them off. Do I really need to do this tomorrow? If the answer is no, take it off the list. If it doesn't really need to be done tomorrow, but you still want it on the list, then by all means keep it on there. Okay, so now you've got this list in front of you, and maybe for some of you, you've never done this exercise, and you're looking at the list and you're going, Eric, that is overwhelming. How can I possibly accomplish it all? You can't. You're not going to accomplish it all. I can't remember the last day I got everything done on my list. That's why we prioritize. So now we're going to do that. I want you to apply the 80-20 rule. Look at how many items are on your list. For every 5 items, identify based on the 80-20 rule, 1 item that's the most valuable. So if you have 10 items on your list, identify the 2 items on your list that are going to provide you the most value. If you have 15 items on your list, identify the 3 items that are going to provide you the most value. If you have 20 items on your list, identify the 4 items that are going to provide you the most value. And the way I would do that is I would either put an asterisk by it or highlight the item. So now that you have that complete, look at your list, look at your plan. Do you have a pretty good plan? How long did that take us? I bet you did it in 14 minutes or less. See how easy that is? And I coached you right through it, and you now have this audio program, and anytime you want me to coach you through planning a day, you just pop in that CD or you pop in that tape, and I'll be right here to motivate you to go out and have an incredibly productive day. So you can go out and you can achieve your goals and dreams and transform your time management. For many of you, this will be the funnest part of the entire program because you're actually getting to get in the trenches and plan your day. Now look at your plan. You got a pretty good plan? I bet you do. It only took us a few minutes. If you give a man a fish, he can eat for the day. If you teach him how to fish, he can eat for the rest of his life. I took you through a simple planning exercise that only took a few minutes. You now have your list of questions for the rest of your life. You can always modify them, update them, change them. And now when you sit down and plan, you simply spend 14 minutes of concentrated, blocked time. You write down what you want to accomplish on a scratch pad, on a piece of paper, in your computer, in your day planner. And then you go back and you think and you look at your plan and go, okay, what's most important? What's next most important? And then you focus on the activities that are most important. And that's how I've gone from building my business by myself to now I have 16 people that work for me. And by the end of next year, I fully expect to have my business grown to over 40 people. And we'll do several $1 million in gross sales next year. If I didn't have the time management skills that I currently have, I wouldn't be able to do it. I just shared with you exactly how I plan my day, how I train my staff to plan their day. You do this consistently, you're well on your way to becoming a time management master. Now, I've shared with you step-by-step how to plan a day, and what I'd like to talk about now are some advanced time management techniques. In reading the books that I've read, listening to the audio tapes, attending the seminars on time management that I've attended, I have yet to come across an instructor talk about the importance of systems when it comes to time management. In my background, a little over 10 years ago, I was a cook at McDonald's. And in working at McDonald's, McDonald's is one of the most powerful business models when it comes to systems. And I got an up-front and close personal look at the systems that McDonald's had. One of the things that makes a system effective is that the system is simple and it's duplicatable. And one of my arguments with many of the time management systems as far as how people teach you to plan a day or their system on how they're sharing with you how to improve in the area of time management is that to actually execute the system, it would be very, very difficult to do it. So we're looking for something that's simple and something that's duplicatable. Now, here are some areas of your life that you could develop systems in. You could have an email system. You could have a system for returning phone calls, for planning your day. You could have a system for training. You could have a system for cleaning your home. You could have a system for where you put your keys or your wallet when you come home. a system for organizing your clothes in your closet or in your dresser, or organizing your shoes. You could have a system to keep things organized in your garage. You could have a paper filing system. You could use a system to pay your bills. You could have a system for investing. Here are some of the benefits of using systems. Systems produce predictable results. When you have a system, it immediately becomes habit. Systems save time. When you have a system, you can work towards mastery of that system. Here are some tips on developing a system. Ask yourself the question, does a system already exist for what it is that I want to do that I could model? You could create a system based on your own personal experience. You could ask others to help you develop the system. Here are some of the things that I learned in McDonald's of areas of their business that they had systems. I mean, a lot of people just think of McDonald's and you go there and you get a hamburger and a Coke and some fries, but they don't realize all the intricate systems, the elaborate systems that have been established. I believe this is the number one reason why McDonald's enjoys the success that it currently enjoys globally. They recorded their training system on video and in text. At McDonald's, they have a giant McDonald's Bible, and it literally gives step-by-step instructions for every task in the entire company. They have an inventory system. They have a systematic way of hiring. When you go to McDonald's, they have an ordering system. You could order a number 1, a number 2, you could supersize it. They have a step-by-step system for ordering. They have a food preparation system, and I learned this very well. When I worked at McDonald's, I made over 100,000 hamburgers. Now, that's a lot of hamburgers to make. And at first, when I got started, at one time, you could be cooking as many as 24 hamburgers on the grill. And if you don't have your system down, you're going to be burning a lot of meat. So I struggled initially, but once I got the system down, it became effortless. It became a habit. And then I mastered that system. They have an interviewing system. They have a system for orientation. They have a compensation system. They have a system for cleaning up. They have a marketing system. They have an expansion system. It's fascinating about McDonald's. I read a book by Ray Kroc called Grinding It Out, and it's the story of McDonald's. And they had this elaborate expansion system that allowed them to start McDonald's all over the world and not need additional investment capital. And the way that they did it is they bought the land and then they put the McDonald's on top of the land. The restaurant and the land, once built, now had a greater value than what it cost to buy the land and build the McDonald's. So they were able to get unlimited funding. They could literally go to any place in the world and open up a McDonald's and have the necessary cash flow to do it. The systems at McDonald's were so refined that high school kids run McDonald's today. Think about that. One of the most successful companies in the world today is run by high school kids because of the effectiveness of the systems. And if, as you're listening to this audio program, if you're in business, if you're in sales, if you're in network marketing, I want you to really think about the concept of systems and how you can apply this in your business, because this could be for you the most powerful idea on this entire audio program. I know for me, this next year we're projected to go from about $700,000 in gross sales to a little over $4 million. And one of the main things that I'm focusing on in my company is to develop the systems to support the growth. The hiring systems, the training systems, the marketing systems, the infrastructure systems. Systems are extremely important when it comes to time management. Think about this. Where do you need systems in your life? What would it mean to you if you identified 1, 2, 3, or 4 key areas that by you adding a system in would dramatically improve your performance? You potentially could get an extra hour a day, 2 hours a day, 5 hours a day 20 hours a day of result or more by developing effective systems. Here's some other advanced planning strategies. Spend 1 hour prior to the month starting planning your month. Spend 1 hour on Sunday identifying the most important outcomes that you want to accomplish for the week in writing. I call this my hour of power. And each Sunday, I'll sit down for 1 hour on my computer and type out all of the things that I want to accomplish for the week. And I can't tell you how effective that has helped me in producing the results that I'm able to produce. The next advanced planning strategy is when you plan your day, ask pre-planning questions. Here are the questions that I ask myself to mentally prepare myself to plan an optimum day. What level am I committed to playing at during planning? And typically my answer is 10. How long will I spend planning? And at a minimum, I like to spend 14 minutes. So I identify in writing how much time I'm going to spend focused and concentrated on creating this plan. The next advanced strategy is to ask yourself post-planning questions. So once I've developed my written plan, oftentimes I'll go back and ask myself, can I chunk any of these activities? In other words, are there any activities like going to the grocery store and going to the dry cleaners where they're right next door to each other? So when I go to the grocery store, I can at the same time drop off my dry cleaning. Is there any way that I can combine 2 or more of the list of activities on my plan? Then I'll ask myself, can I delegate any of my activities? Looking at my list, is there anything that my wife could do? Is there anything that my employees could do? Is there anything that an expert could do that I could hire? Can I delegate any of these activities? The next post-planning question that I'll ask myself, I'll look at my list and ask, do I really need to do this? Oftentimes there are things on my list that when I ask myself what I need to do today, I wrote it down, but when I went back and looked at it, I really didn't need to do this. Very, very powerful question to ask yourself after you come up with your list. The next question is, what are 2 activities on my list that will provide me the most value? This again is the 80-20 rule. It's looking at your list and figuring out what is my priority, what is going to make the biggest difference in my day. And the last question, post-planning, is, are there any activities I need blocked time for? The next strategy is a strategy around self-analysis. Self-analysis is one of the cornerstones to personal development, and it surely is one of the ideas that will take your time management to the next level. Recognition is step number 1 towards improvement in anything. If you have not yet recognized that you need to improve in an area, obviously you're not going to take steps to move forward. So let me give you an example of this. Let's say you had 2 salespeople, and salesperson A, salesperson B. All right? They're both supposed to make 100 calls a day. They both start their job on the exact same day. And at the end of the day, salesperson A made 57 calls. And salesperson B also made 57 calls. Salesperson A practices self-analysis. He goes home that night and he asks himself the question, if I was to do today over again, what would I do differently? And remember, he made 57 calls. He was supposed to make 100. Immediately, the answer that pops into his head is, I'd make 43 more calls. Now, salesperson B also made 57 calls, but he does not ask himself, if I was to do today over again, what would I do differently? So now they both come into work the next day. Now, how many calls would you guess salesperson A made? I would guess salesperson A maybe the next day made 67 calls. Salesperson B, maybe they made 50 calls. So at the end of the day, salesperson A says, if I was to do today over again, what would I do differently? I would have made my 100 calls. Salesperson B doesn't ask himself the question, doesn't get the distinction, doesn't recognize that he needs to improve. The next day, they both come in. Salesperson A now makes 82 phone calls. He's consistently improving. Salesperson B makes 53 calls, staying about consistent with where he was on day 1 and day 2. Now it's a year from today, and every single day, salesperson A has asked himself, if I was to do today over again, what would I do differently? So now the question is, 1 year from today, how many calls does salesperson A make? I'm going to guess right around 100. How many calls does salesperson B make? I'd guess right around 50. Now, 1 year from today, that would affect the results that they produced on that day. Based on law of averages, the more calls you make, the more successful you're going to be. But think about it. How much did not performing self-analysis cost salesperson B over the previous year? It probably cost him about 50% of his production. It's so powerful to go back and take a look at how you're performing in any area of your life, especially time management, and identify what are some small steps that I can take to improve in the area of time management. And I want to give you another example of how the concept of self-analysis works. And it's around our finances. And let's say you had person A and person B, and they were both in their early 20s. Let's say they were 22 years of age. And person A begins to practice self-analysis as it pertains to his budget. And person B doesn't happen to practice self-analysis. And let's say they both earn the exact same amount of money. They're in the exact same financial situation. The only difference is person A now begins to practice self-analysis. They're both spending the same amount of money on the same things. And person A begins analyzing how he's spending his money. And in the analysis, realizes that he's spending $200 a month on magazines. Now, person B is also spending $200 a month on magazines, but has not yet made the realization that he's spending that much on magazines. So person A goes, you know what? Wow, that's a waste of my money. And actually, I'm not investing any money at all. So from self-analysis, person A decides, I'm no longer going to invest in magazines. Anything that I need to read, I will get off the internet for free. And I'm going to take that $200 and I'm going to begin to invest it. Now, this is when person A is about 22 years old. Now, person B is also investing the $200 in magazines and is also not investing any money. Person B doesn't have the realization because person B is not practicing self-analysis. So let's now fast forward 45 years and let's look at the financial picture of person A and person B. Person A, by consistently investing about $200 a month, has now saved in excess of $350,000 because person A had some prudent investments. They invested in real estate. They had some wise stock market investments. Person B is still investing $200 a month in magazines. And person B has not invested one thin dime. Now we fast forward to the future. What's the difference? It's several $100,000. That's the importance of self-analysis. But now, so I want you to continue to practice self-analysis when it comes to your time management. Here are some questions to consider. What am I willing to give up in order to build more hours in my day? That's a powerful self-analysis question. And the only way to get the answer is to ask yourself the question. And because you invested in this program and you're investing the time in this program, you now are going to ask yourself that question. Whereas the majority of the people out there are not going to be asking themselves these questions and not getting the realizations that you are about what needs to be done to improve in the area of time management. Here's the next question. When am I best? In the morning or at night? Or what are my most productive hours? You see, some people, they don't know when they're best in the morning or the night because they've never asked themselves that. They have not performed the self-analysis. Next question. What do I stand to gain from learning to manage my time? Next question. What do I really want to be doing with my life? Next question. Do I find myself searching for lost items on a regular basis? Now think about this. If you answered yes to that question, let's say you never asked yourself that question, and you went the rest of your life wasting minutes, hours, maybe even days, searching for things that are constantly getting lost because you never developed a system to organize those things that are constantly lost. The things that we lose the most, you probably guessed it, it's our wallet and our car keys. Why not develop a place to keep your wallet and your car keys? And you put it there, the same place every day. You'll never lose your car keys or wallet ever again. Next question. Do I put off doing tasks until the last minute? And the final self-analysis question for this section. Am I using lack of time as an excuse to get out of doing things that I don't want to do? Now, some experts suggest that you should get a time log and every 15 minutes for a couple of weeks, write down where you're spending your time. So you wake up in the morning, you log that. You eat breakfast, you log that. You go and get coffee at Starbucks, you log that. You talk with your friends, you log that. Well, I thought, wow, that sounds like a pretty good idea. I'm going to try that. Let's see where my time's going. Kind of like tracking where your money goes, track where your time goes, and then you can perform self-analysis with that information. The problem is I tried it and it's very difficult to do. If you haven't been in the habit, who has been in the habit of consistently tracking every 15 minutes of your day, it's very, very difficult to do it. And so although I do think it's a great idea, what's probably a better idea is to hire somebody to travel around with you for a few weeks and have them be their job to track your time. Because you actually executing that advice, I don't know how realistic it is. And that's really one of the challenges that I find with a lot of seminars, books, tapes, is that some of the ideas that they share, although in theory, they sound great. And on the whiteboard in the seminar, it works out perfectly. But to actually go out and try the idea and have it be a practical, useful idea, oftentimes the ideas fall far short of the mark. So here's what I think is much more powerful than tracking every 15 minutes. It's making a list of all of your time commitments. So ask yourself the question, what time commitments do I have each day, each week, each month? And you write down those time commitments and then perform self-analysis on those commitments. So think about this. What are your work commitments? Whatever they are, write them down on paper. What time do you have to arrive at work? What time do you have to leave from work? Are there any committee meetings that you're obligated to go to? Are there any staff meetings that you're obligated to go to? Are there any community service events that you must do because of the job that you're in? Okay, now, do you have children? What time commitments do you have around your children? Taking them to soccer practice, taking them to ballet, taking them to Boy Scouts, dropping them off at school, picking them up at school. What about your meal commitments? Do you have commitments to your family as to when you'll be where at mealtime? What commitments have you made in the organizations that you belong to or the church that you belong to? What commitments have you made to your clients? And you make a list of all of these commitments. And what a lot of people find when they make this list is they realize that there's a lot of things on their list that are just gobbling up 15 minutes here, an hour there, 4 hours a month here, 10 hours a month there, and in some cases, even more time than that. And after looking at it, they realize that it's not the best use of their time. And they immediately make a decision to drop those commitments. Or when it comes time to recommit to do those activities again, like if you're being reelected for something, you turn down the reelection. You know what? I've served my time as president of the Rotary Club, and it's now time for me to move on. So to me, that's a much more practical use of time and a very powerful exercise to do. And if you feel that that is a good exercise, I want to encourage you to do that in the next 7 days in your journal. Just simply make a list of all of your time commitments.